Nithyananda Maharaj, thank you so much. And such a beautiful space of listening to participants of the Akashic reading who have received directly blessings from Devi Parashakti in the form of the Nija Avatara, Supreme Pontiff of Hindus, and Jagat Guru Mahasannidhana, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. Now, we'd like to invite Shti Nithya Gyaana Swarooopaananda.
Nithyananda,
are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and a pleasure to see you again. And just for the sake of our viewers, would you please introduce yourself and where you're from and what you do, and a brief history of how you came to Swamiji.
Sure. Nithyanandam, everyone. My name is Shti Nithya Gyaana Swarooopaananda. I am based in Toronto, Canada, and I am fully involved in Kailasa, Toronto. And I'm part of the temple team as well as the outreach team. So, and also leading the Annadan team here in Toronto. So I've been under Swamiji's fold. I knew Swami. I met Swamiji for the first time in 2009 when he came to Toronto, and I've been following him, but not fully at that time. But then I think in 2014, 15, when Theriya Swami was in Toronto is when I started getting involved in the Sangha and actively getting involved in the temple activities and all the other stuff. So I've been here in Toronto for this long, attended a few programs, IAs with Swamiji, as well as been, again, blessed as I'm so happy to see Pratimaya was being blessed with quadruplets, which is an amazing blessing to get, because we were also blessed with 2 kids from Swamiji directly. So I can know that feeling. It's such an amazing feeling to have kids that were blessed by Swamiji. But yeah, so being involved in the Sangha for such a long time, helping, going through a lot of change in my life, my family life, making sure everything is aligning to Swamiji's principles and teachings and aligning myself to the Hindu lifestyle, which is a very, very hard challenge to do in this part of the world. But I'm trying to align myself as much as I can to get to that space.
Beautifully, beautiful. So let's first start with your spiritual name. You received it very recently, and walk us through that experience. How was it when you heard the first time that this was a name that was blessed by Swamiji as your spiritual name, and what it meant to you?
Oh, this is a name. I mean, I have been wanting to have a spiritual name, seeing a lot of people that I know within the Sangha getting a spiritual name, and always I had that resistance of my identity to my old name. Just thinking, okay, how would I feel getting that name? And how am I going to be, just having all those negative thoughts, right? About not thinking about that spiritual name is something that aligns you to your life purpose. So even my wife, we were both talking about it, and she also was not sure whether we should get the spiritual name or not, because in the end, we both would have the same names, only just the difference would be the Sri and Ma. So, but she was also kind of having some hesitance. But then when we had our DTA with Devi Parashakti or Swamiji a few weeks ago, I don't know, I looked at Devi and it just hit me in my hand. I said, please bless us with a spiritual name. I think at that time, my inner space was ready to listen to that name. So initially, when I first thought of a spiritual name, I thought I'm going to be getting a very long name or something. But then when I heard the name Shti Nithya Gyaana Swarooopaananda, I was like, wow, such a beautiful name. And it just flows with bliss. And when I heard about the meaning, and my wife also was so happy and excited to get that name, and it meant a lot. And I noticed ever since we've had the blessings and getting that spiritual name, it has changed. It has had a huge shift in our space, like between me and my wife. Like as Swamiji says, you feel reborn. Like I feel like another person right now with that name. So, and it's hard to now when you talk to people outside Sangha, trying to get them to understand that to call you by this name is also something that you need to tell them why do you have this name? What does it mean? And how is it aligning you to your life path, life purpose, which is what, to me, when we got that I feel like getting that spiritual name was needed for me and my wife to have a huge shift in our space, not only within spiritually, but within ourselves too. Like now we come as a package. There's no mother or Darshini. It's Ma and Sri Nithya Gyaana Swarooopaananda together. And the purpose is to follow, to align to Shiva, Lord Shiva's mission. So that's all we're doing. And it's been a blessing. And I think, it was a blessing to receive it directly from Swamiji. So what else can I have nothing more else to do than other than deepest gratitude for that.
And that's a beautiful way of putting it. And one thing I wanted to reiterate from what you shared is how when your inner space is ready, when you become finally ready and available, that is the best space to be in to go in front of Devi Parashakti and ask for anything. And when we are ready and we are available, she is always ready and always available to give us a blessing. And when your inner space shifts, she's there and she'll beautifully give us that blessing. So that is wonderful. So tell us about the actual name. Like, what is the meaning of the name and what it actually means to you when you hear the meaning? Because when the name is given, the spiritual name is given, the meaning of it is also given so that the whole life can actually align to that purpose. So please tell us about that as well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the exact meaning of the name is blissfully, auspiciously, the embodiment of knowledge of Paramashiva. That is the true meaning of that name. So I'm still trying to, I have to read it a couple of times to get to understand it. So yeah, so when I hear that, I'm like, it's pretty much the one who knows the knowledge of Paramashiva. So what else? That when you hear that, and it's a name that it really rhymes within me. I feel like it's a name that I'm meant to have. And when I hear it, it's like me and my wife, we start calling each other that now. We don't call each other with other names. So so that's the meaning of the name. And I still am so excited. I'm like a baby, so happy to have a new name. When you get a name, when I named my kids, that's how I felt, like so happy.
That's awesome. And that's exactly true, because when Swamiji gives us the new name, it is a new birth. So it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, you mentioned your kids, so I just wanted to ask. So what has it been? You also received blessings from Swamiji for the birth. And please talk about Sarvesh, Nandika. What does it mean for them to have this ambience, this ecosystem with which they are beautifully growing up in? So what does that mean to you and your family?
So I think it's, as mentioned, it is, blessed to be given these kids that were blessed by Swamiji. And literally you can see that we are pushing them to be in this ecosystem that we are living in, this world that we're not directly in Adi Kailash or any other ecosystems, but we're trying to build that ecosystem, trying to make sure that they're following Swamiji's teachings, doing puja, doing yoga, and they do it. Like my son is 4, Sarvesh is 4 years, and Nandika is 2 years old, and they, like the way they inspire me and my wife a lot in certain ways, that they wait for us. Like I feel like they know, they're already born with that muscle memory. Like they know what they need to do. It's just a matter of getting them in tune, and that's it. While for us as who have had a lot of patterns in our system, we have to go through a lot of change in our system to get aligned to that space. And I find that when you see them, like seeing these kids, and especially you being with them every day, it makes you you need to align. So sometimes I even tell my wife, we need to do more, because they will just pick up and run. They know what to do. They, like my kids, my daughter, my son and my daughter, both, they go to the temple. They know that their life is about Swamiji, Hinduism. Like even when we go out, whenever we're around the temple, my kids know, though the temple is closed, the kids know that they have to say their pranams to Swamiji. Like for example, when I go to my brother's place, it's beside the temple. Even if it's late at night, Sarvesh will say, Appa, I need to go say good night to Swamiji. So we go in front of the temple, he will chant the mantras, he will chant everything, then he will say good night to Swamiji, then only goes to sleep in the car. So he knows that now that is part of his muscle memory and biomemory, that his life revolves around Swamiji's teaching and principles and being a Hindu. Even eating, right? Like we teach him about the vegetarian lifestyle. Like we always had fears like, oh, how would he be in a country in Canada, like being exposed to non-veg and everything. But teaching him that, he knows that now. Even now, sometimes when we go out and stuff, we're in the car, when he sees his advertisements on TV, he'll be like, no, Appa, we're not supposed to eat meat. And he's like, I asked why. He said, that's only for animals. We're humans. We don't eat meat. And he's a 4-year-old carrying that powerful cognition that this is not supposed to be. It's like we just tell him once or twice and they know it. And it's all because of bringing them up in that kind of an environment. And they know it. And we try our best not to give them all these processed foods. It's a challenge, but we try them, maybe because everything in this country has yeast. So we're so picky in all those things. So, but they know, they understand. So I feel like it's just because of Swamiji's teaching and seeing how it impacts people who do not follow that. It has helped us a lot. And we're still churning ourselves and still trying to build this ecosystem, not only within our house, we still have to build it in our homes first before we expand it. So I feel like that my wife and myself, we are working towards building that ecosystem within our house. And then we have the temple, and I feel not even going to the temple is a huge thing because of the COVID shutdowns. And the kids miss it a lot. Like we literally watch old temples and he's so excited to see the temples and he misses the deities big time. So like they know like they're missing it. Like, so whenever we get a chance to go to the temple, we get to go and see the deities. So like hearing about Pratimaya being blessed to be in Sripuram directly every day, it's amazing. It's an amazing blessing, right? I wish we can get to have that experience once again, once the COVID lockdowns are released. But to your point, we are as parents trying to get them in the ecosystem, building that ecosystem within our homes first, and also using the temple as an external ecosystem for Hinduism.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. And now that we're talking about the temple, please share about your experiences with just serving the Archavataras. You always perform seva to Lord Venkateshwara at the Toronto Kailasam temple. So please share how that started and how was that experience and what has that transformed in you?
Well, that is, I mean, I feel like the doing seva to the temples, to the deities has what has kept me, as I feel is like doing that seva is like as what has kept me going and helped me write this pralaya and all these things, because I feel like that when you're with the deities and of doing the seva to them, you feel that space of calmness and oneness, and I feel like you just feel like especially me when I'm doing it to Venkateshwara, I just feel like he's mine. Like when I'm doing Abhishekam to him, I'm doing Alankaram to him, I just wish I can just carry him and take him home. You know, it's just that oneness with him. But it's even not only for him, for all the deities, even Nandi, doing that. And as Swamiji says, when you do the seva and you just do that with deep space of gratitude, it's amazing. Like, yeah, there may be a lot of people will question, oh, you did this Alankaram wrong, right? But I always tell them, it's not about that. It's your connection with the deity. If the deity is ready to accept it, they will accept it. Like, and I've seen that with our temples, our deities because they've done, Prana Pratishtha has been done to these deities, they're living and breathing. If something is not right for them, it will not work. I've spent hours doing Alankaram for some deities because of something that is not right, versus if something is supposed to go right, it'll go right. So you do see the effect of those. And especially now, since the temple is pretty much is open, but not to the public. So the deities are radiating more energy. Like you can literally feel when I go for like the weekly seva, when I wake them up, I do feel their presence, like all the deities, when you could literally feel that they're looking at you and waiting for you to radiate that energy. So I feel that their blessings is what is keeping my family, and I feel like keeping even Toronto Sangha and the Toronto region going, because they're very powerful. And so these deities are alive. So I know how I can feel them pretty much.
That's amazing. And I'm sure more and more people will come to enjoy this beautiful
Yeah.
space of being with the Archavataras pretty soon. And now from the experience with the Archavataras, let's now get to what we have been discussing this morning about the Akashic reading,
Yeah.
to be in the presence of Devi Parashakti in the Nijavatara, expressing, manifesting herself in the Nijavatara, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. When you first heard about it, what were your thoughts and how did you decide that you will ask a question and how did you prepare for it to receive a blessing?
So when I first heard about it, I missed the first day. So when I heard it from a few Sangha members that she was doing that, I felt kind of bad that I missed it. But then I decided to complete and move on and start coming in. But then the second day and third day, I kept hearing Devi giving blessings, and she was also giving prayachita to some of the devotees, and that kind of put in a fear to me, like, okay, if I ask a question, am I going to be given a prayachita, like go do this or do this something? But it took me a day or so. But then I said, you know what, if I am to be getting a prayachita, it's like me when I do something wrong and my mother punishes me. Who else do I get it from? So then, and I know the punishment is not meant for any benefit of Devi. It's just for my benefit in the end. And so I decided, I submitted my question, and my first question, the first question I even was just about my kids, just to bless them. And Devi not only answered my question of bless the kids, but she also blessed, because in my inner space, I know Swamiji is one of his missions for the Chaturmasya is the Annadan as well. So like I lead the Annadan in Toronto, and I wanted to make it bigger. So, and she answered what was in my inner space about, and blessed me and said, I personally am accepting every single grain of rice that you offer for Annadan. And every grain of rice that I offer is accepted in the Brahma Kapali of Kali, so the fifth head of Lord Brahma. And that blessing not only goes to you, it goes to the rest of the world. And that was in my inner space. I always wanted to make sure that whatever I do for Annadan is accepted. And when I heard about that, I was I was in shock. Like, she not only answered what was my question, but she also answered what was my inner space at that point. So it's like, I've seen that happen to a lot. Most of the time I've seen it happen for some people. Like, you may have one question, especially I'll go back to Inner Awakening. Like when we used to go to Swamiji for blessing, we used to write like essays and essays of letters and just show it to Swamiji, and Swamiji would just say blessings, and we'll be like, what? I wrote this for a long letter and he just said blessings. But the thing is, then one of the participants had written something about a blessing, and when he went for the second time, he didn't ask that question, but Swamiji blessed him, and also blessed him for that question that he didn't ask this time. That was in his inner space. So that kind of brings me back to my question that I'd asked Swamiji. Devi this time was about my kids, and she blessed me for my kids as well as blessed me for other things. So that clearly shows that she is there. She is looking after me. She's looking after Sangha. And that's all I needed to hear, nothing else. And so I was happy with that. And then I said, okay, that's an amazing blessing. And then my wife was also not feeling well. She was having a lot of health issues and not able to come out of it. So then the next day or something, I just sent a message to Devi saying, please bless my wife, heal her. And believe it or not, so that day when I was busy with work, I was doing my work in a meeting, and Devi Parashakti's darshan was going on. Something in my head came, and I heard a voice in me saying, I'm going to answer you now. I turned around, she's answering me. She called out my name and started answering me. Wow. And I was in shock. When I told that to my wife, I said, she's going to answer me now. And my wife was looking at me like, what are you saying? Then she just called out my name. And so that felt like that oneness with her. Like she knows you're busy, do your work, but I'll call you when you're ready for the darshan, when your time comes. And she called my name out. She blessed my wife. And the same thing with my wife. My wife also had that fear about, I'm kind of scared. But then when Devi's blessing was like, she's my daughter, and it is my responsibility to look after my daughter. I will take care of her health issues and also give her powerful cognitions. ever since that, her health completely did a 180. Like changed her thought. Everything changed in her space, and her health was changed completely. And it impacted. You do see the impacts across not only just one, across all the dimensions of health, wealth, and relationships when you get the blessings of Devi. And yeah, and there's more. I mean, then we were blessed to have the DTA with her as well. So that that's where I got my spiritual name from. But I am been pretty blessed. And even recently, the last time I asked a question to her was, I struggle with my weight. So I asked her to help me get rid of my food patterns, to help me lose my weight. And I asked her this like a week ago, and she blessed me with the simple word Tatastu. And I just wanted to iterate it to people that when Devi or Swamiji says the word Tatastu, don't take it for granted. It's a word that carries a lot of weight. So when she blessed me for that, ever since that, my whole eating habit has changed. Like I don't eat I used to eat like a lot of rice and stuff, but I'm now eating more of eating like more soup, drinking more and eating more fruits. So my eating habit has changed, and I do see my life is different. And so yeah, so that's been I've been blessed to have a lot of blessings from Devi in the last few weeks. And as Pradima had mentioned earlier, it's when your being is ready for it, then only you will receive it. And
one thing I wanted to also add to what you're saying is the Prayaschitta is slightly different. It's actually different from what a punishment is, because Prayaschitta is only corrective action. Devi, in all her abundant compassion, simply wants all her kids, which is all of us, to be back and to be aligned with her. And she only gives us the right process or whatever right steps that we need to take so that we are all aligned and back in oneness with Devi Parashakti. And so that is so beautiful. And the next thing that you mentioned, I wanted to also again reiterate that the space, the inner space that you're carrying, and so beautifully, the oneness that expressed through you. Exactly when she was going to answer you, somewhere so many miles away, thousands of miles away, and then suddenly you got this simple message that I'm going to answer to you now. And that is a space of oneness where we completely, totally surrender to Devi Parashakti, and she's right there, and she's ready and willing and available to just shower us with all her blessings. Yes, absolutely. The other thing I wanted to reiterate is when she gives it the Dastu, it totally has a lot of weight in it. It's got a lot of Shakti to it, and it has got new life to it as well. She creates a new life for us. She gives birth to a new possibility, a new reality when she gives a blessing. And it is totally up to us to fit into it and then create that and experience that reality for us. So please share about that part, like what has really transformed. You mentioned about the food habits have changed, and in any other areas, anything else that you
it has definitely changed. Your food directly correlates to your anger. So what you eat, it becomes what you say or stuff. So I noticed what I've been eating has also has completely shifted my space in terms of anger. And like I mean, as Sundaresh Maharaj was saying, that is a huge pattern a lot of people struggle with, anger. Like ever since getting that blessing and eating healthy, I noticed it has shifted my space with I don't get angry as often. Like I'm more calmer, more collected. I just don't lose my temper for every single thing. So, and it does you. So that's the blessing of when Swamiji says, when you work on one thing, everything else will correct itself. So yeah, so that's pretty much.
Beautiful. And is there anything else that you'd like to share that you have not shared so far with all the viewers, especially during the current crisis? What is really going on? Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I mean, I do. I think the only thing that I could share is when Devi says she's protecting her devotees, understand that she's literally protecting you. And when she says keep your Atmalinga with you, don't take that Atmalinga for granted. It has to be on you. And I have experienced it myself because I always keep my Atmalinga with me. And the day when Swamiji mentioned about the Atmalinga that always carried with you, I got into it. I was just leaving the house and I just got into an accident right at my doorstep, and my car was completely gone. And it was just the day before I heard about Swamiji talking about Atmalinga. Like, it's always there to protect you. And similar thing when Devi is saying she's there to protect us, understand that that means a lot, that she's literally there to protect us, do what she's asking us to do, and be in that space of receiving. I mean, if you're in that space of deep gratitude, your questions will get answered, whether it's directly through her or directly through someone else, one way or another. So that don't feel that if your name is not called out, she doesn't like you. You are watching that for a reason. You're there in that darshan for a reason. So that's all I can give. That's my message to everyone.
Thank you, Shri Nithya Gyaana Swarooopaananda, for joining us and sharing your experiences. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I really request that again you'll be able to come back and share with us more and more of your journey with Devi Parashakti, with Swamiji. Thank you again. We have more participants who will be sharing with us their experiences and how they received the Devi Parashakti's blessings in just a moment.